So you're much better off, if you're going to offer an opinion, saying it's an opinion. In my opinion, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a whatever. That's not what they were doing. They were reporting night after night that he was these terrible things, that he'd said these terrible things. And they continue to do it. What's happening right now with JD Vance is a good example of it. Of course he had to be crucified because he has too good a story with a working class. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin are too important not to hurt him. Trump has to be kid-gloved for a little while because he just got his head almost blown off. It would look bad. But here's this nice fresh meat who happened to say some things that were provocative on cable news about women. Get him. Because we need women, we're Democrats. That's how we get elected. So unleash the hounds. He said this stuff. What did he say? I went back, we did a deep dive. You know what was happening when JD was saying that?
None of us trust the mainstream media, and we all know that they collectively work together to tarnish not only Trump, but anyone who supports him and vilify us and call us all these cool names. Well, Megyn Kelly exposes that bias in this video. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to Resist the Mainstream because it ensures YouTube that you're enjoying these videos, and in that way, they'll continually show up in your feed and they'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
You know, we shouldn't love our politicians. We should be kicking the tires on our politicians. They're, all of them. Trump too. If you're a fan at home, you're a voter, that's one thing. If you're a member of the media, that's not your job. You're not a cheerleader. You're not there to help him. So I had a real problem with the fact that they all sacrificed their objectivity to get him, to bring him down. And despite their personal beliefs, could never check it. It's fine to actually privately root for somebody and want this candidate to win, or that's human. But to show it, to openly try to make it happen every night on the air is something very different. And they started doing it in 2015. They declared openly that they would now no longer be objective, that they would say Trump is a racist, Trump is a sexist, Trump's an Islamophobe. That's opinion. That's your opinion. You're saying he's a racist because you're also saying that he said there are fine people on both sides at the Charlottesville rally, which is a lie. So your first fact is based on a second underlying faulty fact, which makes you wrong. So you're much better off, if you're going to offer an opinion, saying it's an opinion. In my opinion, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a whatever. That's not what they were doing. They were reporting night after night that he was these terrible things, that he'd said these terrible things. And they continue to do it. What's happening right now with JD Vance is a good example of it. Of course he had to be crucified because he has too good a story with a working class. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin are too important not to hurt him. Trump has to be kid-gloved for a little while because he just got his head almost blown off. It would look bad. But here's this nice fresh meat who happened to say some things that were provocative on cable news about women. Get him. Because we need women, we're Democrats. That's how we get elected. So unleash the hounds. He said this stuff. What did he say? I went back, we did a deep dive. You know what was happening when JD was saying that? There was a rising conversation on the internet and elsewhere around Mother's Day by these leftists that we don't need children. More and more women are choosing not to have them. More and more women who have them regret it. Deep thought pieces from mothers on how they regret having their children and how you really might want to rethink your decision to have them at all if you're somebody who hasn't. And you had AOC coming out there and saying it might be environmentally unsound and irresponsible. 1/3 of women polled said they felt the same, according to Pew Research.
Is that real?
Yes, a rising tide of children are bad. They're irresponsible and they ruin your life. Around Mother's Day. So JD Vance goes out there and says, defensively, these people are nuts. They sound like sociopaths. We should not be ruled by childless cat ladies who don't think children are worthwhile. And when pressed about, he was making a point about they want 16-year-olds to vote. And he said, if we're going to give 16-year-olds the right to vote, then we should give their parents a heavier weight to their vote, and the single people will have less of a weight. He said it was a thought experiment. It wasn't like, I have a policy proposal. Single people without children shouldn't have their vote counted as much as the married people.
And this just shows the dishonesty of the media right here. I didn't even know the context behind that situation, that all they were stating all this nonsense, how it's environmentally unfriendly to have children and irresponsible to have children. And he goes, we shouldn't be run by childless cat. Amen. We should not be run by childless cat ladies who hate children and want to sacrifice them. That's crazy. And if anything, if you were ever concerned about JD Vance, if that quote troubled you or made you concerned about him and his candidacy, fear no more, because that's insane. With a backstory like that, totally justified in those claims. AOC, yeah, is that the person you want to get your advice from or want to take life? No. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's actually wild. That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
That's what happened with JD Vance. And he said, I understand people who want kids and can't have them. That's tragic. And my heart goes out to them. And, a lot of people just can't do it. IVF, whatever, which I believe in. But I do think net it's better to have kids because I think it helps ground you and it gives you better perspective on life and your problems. And especially if you're going to run for office, it gives you something real that you can think about and you have real skin in the game in the future. None of that is controversial. But you didn't get any of that context, the lead up, what he was responding to, or his fuller explanations about what happened. You just got, he hates people who don't have kids. He wants to make women have children. That was an actual headline, that he wants to make them have. So the media lies, and in particular, they lie about Republicans, and certainly anyone who's a MAGA Republican.
I mean, is this the end of mainstream media? Are we seeing its demise right now?
Yes. We're living in the end times for corporate media, I guess we'll call it. They're not mainstream. Is it mainstream to go out there every day and say that guys should be allowed to punch women in the face at the Olympics and pretend they're women? That's not mainstream. 70% more, really, but 70% of the Americans polled say they don't want it. They don't want men and women's sports or boys and girls sports. That's not mainstream. You and I are the mainstream. They're not. Is it mainstream to say open the borders and give amnesty to them all? I hate that term because it's a misnomer. But yes, we're living through the end times for them, which is a glorious thing. We should be celebrating that. That's one of the few great things we have to think about right now in public life. That and the Supreme Court are the two things I wrap myself in like a blanket when I go to bed at night.
What do you think the final nail in the coffin will be?
If Trump wins again.
That'll be the end.
This was 5 months ago, right before Trump won. So, man, imagine saying all this stuff, hearing all these things, all the lies that were spewed about JD Vance, and then all this stuff that the media has been doing, the good people on both sides, and all this stuff. This alternative media, resist the mainstream, Megyn Kelly, Candace, all these people have come out and support Bryce Hall, these people, Theo Vaughn, bringing, shifting the culture, shifting people's mentality. The icing on the cake for Trump to win that was just beautiful. And now we're living in the golden age, like everyone's saying. So this is great.
Yes, because they'll do the same thing they did the first time. Everything will be negative. He will be the devil incarnate. They will find their oppositional, media roots again, which they totally forgot during the Biden years. Hello. We have a whole White House press corps that didn't figure out he was being visited regularly by a Parkinson's doctor. Do you think they'd miss that with Trump? Well, in fairness to them, Trump didn't put out his logs. But my point is they had no interest in finding out anything bad about Joe Biden. So I do think they'll just drive more people away. But they're already dying. You saw what happened when CNN tried to launch its digital property. It closed within a month. Hundreds of millions of dollars closed within a month. Their ratings right now in primetime, they're pulling in 500,000. I mean, I know you dwarf that in your numbers, and I certainly do as well. When I was in primetime at Fox, I was getting 4 million a night and 1 million in the demo. Sometimes well over that. Yeah, CNN's never seen 1 million in the demo unless it's the Trump assassination or some massive breaking news. CBS just fired. They're saying she quit, but she obviously didn't. Its main evening news anchor, Norah O'Donnell, and they're replacing it now with a cast, trying to look more like local news. They've been in third place forever. They're never getting out of it. The Today Show their ratings are in the basement. They're pulling no numbers whatsoever. They used to be a behemoth. That was where everyone wanted to work. It was hashtag goals. Now they get maybe 1/4 of what they used to get. They make no news. They're totally irrelevant. What was the last news Savannah Guthrie made?
I have no idea.
Of course you don't. What was the last news big interview Robin Roberts had? Who knows?
I don't ever watch it.
Who has more
Any of it.
influence, Wolf Blitzer or Ben Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro.
It's just a new world. So they're well on their way to the end of their Kevorkian experience. Trump was the doctor, but they're the ones who hooked themselves up to the machine and they're almost gone.
What do you think happens? I mean, does it just dissolve into nothing? TV's just done?
I don't know the answer to that. I know the almighty dollar rules. So when they stop making money off of these people, they will shrink as they have been, mass layoffs already. And eventually they'll have to find either a new model or close. I would love to see it turn into a resurrection of local news, which is important. Reporting is important. We need journalists, honest journalists. Sometimes they do amazing things. Look at the whole Boston Catholic Church scandal. That was amazing journalism, and we know about that story because of those reporters. So I don't want to see it go away altogether, and I do think it'll reinvent. As to steal a line from Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
But just tell the truth. Nobody has an issue with these mainstream corporate media entities if they actually just tell the truth and stop being biased, be objective, just lay the facts out as they are, regardless of who they are in favor to. Like, that's what we want. That's what we need. And the pendulum has swung. People like that alternative media, Megyn Kelly, like she said, her and this guy get way more views than Fox News. Or not Fox News, and like CNN, CABS, and honestly, probably Fox News. And I'm grateful to it. Like, let the power be in the people's hands at this point. It's so ridiculous that we have to question the people that have put themselves into position to try and inform us because they're trying to spin some narrative to make you believe something that may or may not be true. It's messed up, and I'm glad things have changed, and I'm in alignment with what she was saying.
Do you think it will be reinvented from companies like CNN, MSNBC, Fox, or do you think it'll be some of these newer?
I think
newer
Fox is going to go away
organizations?
because at some point Rupert's going to pass. He's an old man. And I have my doubts about whether Lachlan really wants to run a news channel. I think he really wanted to run the movie company, which then was sold to ABC. And I think he was probably disappointed about that. I don't think he ever thought he would be sitting at 1211 6th Avenue in Roger's old crappy office doing news. And indeed, he's chosen not to do that. So I don't know. I'm not sure about what Fox will do once the succession kicks in. It's not going to happen imminently, but I think eventually it goes away. CNN, they've got to be the closest to death because they have no numbers. None. Doesn't matter who you put in there. Doesn't matter whether they try to do fair and balanced now or not. No one's watching. Jeff Zucker killed CNN, and it has not been able to resurrect. MSNBC, I think they'll probably hang on longer because there isn't really a strong left-wing eco center outside of cable. Shows like mine, they were born because conservatives and just right-leaning independents, fair-minded independents needed alternatives. They couldn't get facts anymore on ABC, on NBC, on CBS, on CNN, on MSNBC. And even Fox has its own agenda, as people have now seen. So, we had to rise up. It's Darwinism. The left has its choices. You could go hardcore left, MS, or soft porn over at CNN. So they don't have as much of as robust a presence in our lane. So I guess that would suggest they'd hold on a little bit longer, but not CNN because it has no numbers. It's not a business.
CNN's only hope is Scott Jennings, and he's just right. Their numbers are doo-doo. And the thing is, I think they believe their own lies. You see Jake Tapper shocked out of his mind on November 5th when Kamala hadn't flipped any counties, or she'd been doing worse than Joe Biden in certain counties. It's hilarious. She's not doing better in one single They believed the lies they were propagated. I don't know, or they're just great actors because CNN is literally a walking crap show. That Abby Phillips girl on that panel is just, oh my gosh, man. triggering how annoying they are and how biased they are and unwilling to be objective. And Scott Jennings gets a lot of viral clips for being the conservative commentator on there. So I don't know. We'll see. But this is I love seeing videos like this because it kind of just it's the journey we've been on from 2020 or 2016 till now, like being persecuted, vilified, to now being in a place where we are the voice that people want to hear. Is just it's come full circle, and I love every second of it. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to comment down your thoughts below. I want to know what you guys are thinking, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.